Good afternoon and welcome to today's webcast. My name is Maria de Los Angeles Rivera and I'll be hosting today's webcast along with Javier Oyola, Tax Manager. Our topic this afternoon is the Internal Revenue Unified System, or SURI by its acronym. This is the new electronic tax platform that the Puerto Rico Department during the month of October. Our agenda for today is we're going to give you a description of what is SURI, what it entails. We're going to talk a little bit about the implementation phases that are planned for SURI. Also, a description of the transactions to be processed through SURI during this first phase of the implementation. We'll then talk about the latest letter issued by the Department of Treasury regarding the Merchants Registry certificates and the actualization be taking place within SURI. We're going to detail some important dates that all merchants doing business in Puerto Rico must have in mind during this process. And lastly, we are going to attend some of your questions at the end of the webcast. First of all, we're going to be doing some polling questions again this afternoon. And in your screen, the first polling question, what is your function or position in your business? We'd like to know who is listening to us today. So please take a few seconds to answer the question. We can see there that most of you today are persons in charge of purchasing and making payments on your suppliers as well as collecting from your clients. So, of course, this is one of the functions in your business that is most affected by the sales and use tax. We also have some director of taxes, controllers, and of some owners, which is really good for us to have the owner of the business listening to us today. Thank you all for your responses to our poll question. Now I leave with you Javier Oyola, an introduction.
Good afternoon. My name is Javier Oyola. I'll be talking about the new system of the Puerto Rico Treasury Department, which is called SURI, as Maria mentioned. Now that the PICO system is working and everything is running smoothly, the Puerto Rico Treasury Department decided to implement this new system that is an electronic tool that was released with will be released with the assistance of a company called Fast Enterprises, which was first managed the VAT that was repealed in May 2016. Currently, the Puerto Rico Treasury Department has around 16 different systems to manage all the taxes imposed by the agency. And among them, we can find what they call PRETAS, PICO, BRIFO, system for the W-2s, the alcoholic beverage licenses, and other many taxes that they impose. The Puerto Rico Treasury will be able to manage all the taxes in just one platform and have the whole taxpayer record in just one system. It has three main purposes. The first one is improve the service to the taxpayers. The second one is increase the operational efficiency of the Puerto Rico Treasury Department. And the purpose of this new tool is improve the fiscalization of the taxpayers. There are three phases in which SURI will be implemented. Phase 1 will begin in October 31, 2016, and it's only for sales and use tax purposes. We will discuss further in the next slides what can be done within this implementation phase. Phase 2, December 2017, is expected to begin in December 2017, And through this phase, the system will be able to manage all the corporate taxes. We are experiencing some sound problems. We're working with the situation right now. And the system in phase 2 manage all the float entities, incentives, and excise taxes. Phase 3, which is expected to be in December 2018, and is the last phase of the implementation, will integrate the taxes of the individuals, the withholdings, state and gift taxes.
I've been informed by the Treasury Department that once all the phases are in and fully operational, a taxpayer might be able or may be able to manage overpayments and credits in different taxes to be used as more convenient to the taxpayer as possible. This today is not possible due to the fact that there's so many different platforms for each different tax that the Puerto Rico Treasury Department cannot manage one taxpayer's different tax as one account. So it is expected that once SURI is fully implemented in 2018, taxpayers might be able to do that with their tax credits and overpayments.
Well, there are some transactions that taxpayers will be able to do with in phase 1 related to the sales and use tax. During this phase, taxpayer will be able to make transactions related to registrations, filings, payments, and other transactions that we will discuss further in the next slides. In the transactions related to registrations, the taxpayer will be able to complete the actualization of the merchant registration certificate. Any request of a new merchant registration certificate will also be handled through SURI. Amendments to the merchant registration certificates or locations can be done by through SURI. For example, if you have the wrong activity in your merchant registration, if you want to change the NAICS code, etc. Request the cease of operations for a business. Request a negative certificate. Verify if a merchant registration certificate, and register as a new merchant. In terms of filings, the taxpayer will be able to do all that is currently done through PICO. Filings, filing a declaration of imports and any amendments, file an incidental declaration of imports for individuals that are not merchants, file a monthly imports return and any necessary amendments, file the monthly sales and use tax returns for current periods and prior periods, amend any sales and use tax returns, and claim sales and use tax credits when applicable. With regards to the payments, the system will allow taxpayers to make payments on debts that are assessed by Treasury, make payments of existing settlement agreements related to sales and use tax, and also make payments with credit cards.
Going back to the credit, as Javier mentioned, requests for sales and use tax credits will have to be filed through SURI. We have been told by the Department of Treasury that they're going to be opening an office with 14 staff that would be working only with these credits. But this office will not receive visitors it's going to be only by appointment. If after trying to solve the issue through the system, this is not possible, they will send an appointment to the merchant so they can go and visit the office and solve the issue with the credit. We were also made aware by the Department of Treasury that due to this transition process that is going on right now, they have been reviewing the accounts of all merchants, especially in the terms of the credits and the credits for resale merchandise, and they have make us aware that they're going to be issuing around 7,000 notifications of adjustments to credits due to different reasons. One of the reasons might be that the reseller, instead of limiting the tax to 75% when it was limited to 75% of the liability, were taking more than the 75% of the credit, and therefore they're going to be adjusting these excess credits that might be reflected on the account. So don't be surprised if by any chance you receive one of these notifications. Be aware that 7,000 of these notifications will be issued.
Well, the other transactions that can be performed within the SURI system are they're going to issue some alerts. The Treasury directly is going to issue some alerts that taxpayers have to be careful with how they receive those alerts, and they have to be like sorry verifying their account, their respective accounts, in order to be aware of these alerts. The Treasury also informed that they are going to be posting copies of the notification that they sent to the taxpayers in the SURI system. So there's no way a taxpayer can make an excuse indicating that they didn't receive a notice. Also, a taxpayer can request an appeal to the Office of Administrative Appeals directly through SURI. The system will also provide an option to provide confidential information of illegal sales and use tax collections or transactions. The system will allow the administration of the users and will also provide some video tutorials. Here is our second polling question, which is, what is the number one challenge that you encounter when complying with sales and use tax? Option 1 is understanding the rules and requirements. Option 2 is filing returns. Option 3 is how to deal with all the certificates. And option 4 is documentation to keep.
We are getting your responses there. Just a couple of more seconds to get some of your answers. We are close to almost 100% response there. Thank you all for your answers. And these are the results. Almost half of you have issues or find out that the number one challenge is understanding the rules and requirements of the sales and use tax, followed by how to deal with all the certificates. This is good information for us because we can, program for the future, our webcasts and tools to assist you with this challenge you are presenting. Thank you all for your answers. Now, let's talk a little bit about one of those number one challenges, the certificates. You all know, and most of you that are already doing business in Puerto Rico have a merchant registry certificate as of today. It might be blue, red, or yellow or green. Red meaning that you are not withholding agent, and green meaning that you are a withholding agent. Well, as part of the transition to SURI, all merchant registry certificates must be actualized and new certificates will be issued by the system. As part of this transition, an actualization of the NAICS codes will be made using the 2012 tables, which are codes of 5 digits. This will allow for a more descriptive NAICS code to be attached or related to your business. The new certificate will be issued electronically, and you will be able to print it from the system. It's going to be letter size, 8.5 by 11 inches, and you're going to notice that the registry number will have a larger font, so it's going to be easier to identify your merchant registry number. Very important, and this is a big change here on SURI. Only one certificate for locality will be issued. SURI will allow, though, to have various activities or various commercial activities connected or linked to that locality. It is important then to understand that you cannot have different commercial activities with the same physical address. SURI will not allow that. You will be able to include more than one activity per locality. So this will eliminate all those different certificates that you have for the same locality because you had different commercial activities. So please keep in mind when you start doing your updating process and your transition process in SURI, if you try to have more than one activity, activity per locality, you will only have one certificate. Also, the new certificate will show if you are a withholding agent or not. And please keep in mind, this is very important because if you are issued a withholding agent certificate, you will need to file your monthly sales and use tax return even though you don't have any sales or taxable sales. And remember, if you don't do so, a penalty of $100, at least $100, will be imposed for not filing their returns. As I mentioned before, the certificates will be issued by SURI, and this is another change, very important change. The effectiveness of these new certificates is going to be for 2 years. That means you're going to have to renew these certificates every 2 years, and the process that's going to be used for these renewals is the same process that is used for the renewal of the Internal Revenue licenses, which is based on the last digit of your employer identification number. Still, the Department of Treasury will have to publish the procedures that need to be followed for this renewal process. But keep in mind that the new certificates will only last for 2 years, and the main purpose for this is because, like for example, right now the certificates have no expiration date. So unless you go voluntarily and update your profile and your information on the system, the Puerto Rico Treasury Department will not be aware of changes in your profile. Like for example, if you were exempt from collecting because you render services and your income was for $50,000 or less, once your income passed that threshold, you are supposed to go into the system and change it and obtain a new certificate that will certify you as a withholding agent. So in order to have this information more rapidly and readily available, the merchants will be required to renew their certificates every 2 years. In the case of new merchants, as starting on October 31st, 2016, every new merchant will have to do the process in SURI. Remember that you are required by law to obtain your registry with the Department of Treasury 30 days before you open business. So, like during this month of October, you will have to follow the same process as always through PICO. But once SURI is up and running, new merchants need to register within SURI. In addition, and this is something new, there's going to be a new certificate, and it's called Provisional Certificate. The Puerto Rico Treasury has realized that for new businesses in Puerto Rico, in order for them to open bank accounts or to obtain payments or loans with banks, they have been required to have their merchant registry certificate, even though they haven't started doing business. So in order to facilitate the process for these new merchants and do not force them to be filing monthly returns with zero tax, they're coming up with this provisional certificate. This certificate, it's going to be good for 6 months only. It's not renewable. And as long as the merchant does not have any taxable transactions to declare, it will not be required to file a monthly tax return. But please keep in mind, if during those 6 months the merchant has a taxable transaction, let's say imports or brings some equipment to be used in the business, then it will have to file and pay. Also, if before the expiration date of this provisional certificate, the merchant starts operating, he needs to get the normal certificate, the merchant registry certificate. And once you get this certificate, you are required to file monthly returns. So this is something new that is being done basically to assist these new clients in their process of registration and getting permits in Puerto Rico. How is going to be the process of actualization in SURI? As Javier mentioned, starting on October 15, all merchants, this is compulsory for all merchants, even if you are a non-withholding merchant. If you are a merchant that is registered in the Department of Treasury in Puerto Rico, you have to go through this actualization process. The same starts, as I mentioned, on October 15, 2016, and a merchant needs to be done with this actualization process on or before November 20, 2016. If for any reason you fail to update by that date, you'll be assessed a $500 penalty by the Puerto Rico Treasury Department. There are some instances that you might need to do this process before November 20. And for example, if you are an importer of merchandise, remember that you need to file your imports return, your monthly import return by November 10. So therefore, your update in SURI must be done before November 10, so you can file that declaration, that return on November 10. Also, if on or after October 31st, you have inventory to declare, to declare your importation of merchandise, you need to update your profile in SURI before the declaration date so you can use the system. So even though the general date is November 20, which is the due date of the first monthly return to be filed in SURI, that's the return for October 2016. If you need to file monthly imports returns or declaration of imports, you will need to update before November 20. All information that is in the systems of the Puerto Rico Treasury will be transferred to SURI. If you have more than one locality with the same physical address, you will be asked to consolidate. Remember, SURI will not allow different activities with the same physical address. You will be able to have different activities, different NAICS codes for the same locality. Okay, so it's very important that you are aware of that. As I mentioned before, the actualization process applies to all merchants, withholding agents and no withholding agents. To initiate the process, you will have to go to the Hacienda webpage. That's hacienda.pr.gov, and you will click on the SURI logo. Once you click on the SURI logo, you will be taken to the new system, and you will log in with your username and PICO password. And once you're there, you're gonna be asked some additional questions, and you're gonna be able to review the data that has been transferred from the system. Once you finish this process, you're gonna obtain a confirmation message with a code. Print it, keep it in file, because you will need that code in case you need assistance from the Puerto Rico Treasury Department agents with your registration. So once you get this confirmation message, be sure to print it, to save it, and keep it in your vault, okay? You will receive an email with instructions to start using SURI, but please keep in mind you're not going to be able to start using SURI until October 31st, 2016. Once you're able to enter SURI, you will be able to print your new certificate, as I explained before, with all the new characteristics. You will need to replace your old certificates with this new certificate. The requirements are the same. You must place it in a visible place in your business. The old certificates, you can keep them as a memory of the old system, but you are not required to return them to the Puerto Rico Treasury Department, okay? This is an exception with the rules of the certificates. We have been told by Treasury that you don't need to return those certificates to the Department of Treasury. You can destroy them, keep them, but do not return them to the Department of Treasury. Please be sure and reassure your navigators, your internet navigators. These are the ones that support the system. Google Chrome 5.0 and up, Mozilla Firefox 3.5 and up, Opera 10.0 and up, Safari 5.0 and up, and Internet Explorer 8.0 and up. So please double check your Internet Navigator and be sure you have one of these versions, so you have no problems accessing or viewing the information from SURI. Now it is time for our third and final polling question of today. What tools do you need to obtain a higher level of understanding or comfort with the Puerto Rico sales and use tax? And we're getting your answers there. Okay. We're getting close to 100% there on your answers. And you would like more training, workshops, and conferences. These are, this is good, and also the webcast. Okay, so please keep looking or keep watching our space for our next conferences and trainings, as well as for our webcast on these matters. Thank you all for your answers.
here are some important dates for you to remember. Maria just mentioned a couple of them. The first one is the validation of the merchant's information in the SURI system. It can be started on October 15, 2016. The second one is October 27. The old system for the filing of the sales and use tax returns will no longer be available in October 27. This is a system that was used prior to the release of PICO. All the returns for prior periods will have to be filed through SURI. The third date that we have here is October 28. On October 28, the PICO system will cease operations in order to make the transition to SURI. Please consider this date if you have any imports into Puerto Rico. The fourth that we have is October 31st. On October 31st, all the sales and use tax transactions should be made through SURI. Then we have, if you are an importer, the actualization process, as Maria mentioned, of your merchant registration certificate must be made on or before November 10, 2016, which is the due date for the filing of the first import's monthly return in SURI. If you are not an importer, the actualization process must be made on or before November 20, 2016, which is the due date of the first monthly sales and use tax return. And finally, we have November 20, which is the taxpayers will be able to file their first monthly sales and use tax return in SURI, reporting all the October sales or services.
One day that is missing on that timeline is October 21st, 2016, and that's going to be a live event that the Puerto Rico Treasury Department will hold at the Convention Center in Puerto Rico. Those of you that have accounts in PICO and receive messages from the Department of Treasury, please be aware of this message, because we understand that in that live session, they're going to go deeper on the system and show the return and how is it going to be filed through SURI. As of today, we have not been able to see the new return or the format, because it's going to be electronic return, so there's not going to be a paper return. But we haven't been able to see the format of the return that has to be filed with SURI. We understand that as part of this live presentation, the Puerto Rico Treasury Department will go through the process, a live process of registration and filing the returns. Also keep in mind, as we mentioned before, that SURI is going to have video tutorials. We were told by the Puerto Rico Treasury officials they have been preparing around 50 different video tutorials for the system. So you're going to be able to access this through SURI in case you need more information on how it works and how you have to work with the system. So again, be in the look for your invitation for the Puerto Rico Treasury Department's live event. It's going to be live stream also, so probably you will be able to access it through the computers in case you are not able to attend physically the presentation. One of the questions we had in our chat was whether the first return or how was the October business going to be reported. As you see there in our timeline, November 20 is going to be the first return to be filed in SURI, and that's the return corresponding to the month of October. So once you update your profile, the return for October will be filed in SURI. Another question we have here in our box is if all the records and history from PICO are going to be transferred to SURI. The answer is yes. As I mentioned before, once you enter on SURI with your PICO ID and password, the system should go and get all the information that there is for you in PICO and transfer it to SURI. As part of the process, you need to review and ascertain that it's correct, and then answer new questions that the Department of Treasury is going to ask you to complete the profile. Um, who will the invitation be sent to? To the user or the person that usually receives it's registered in your account to get these messages. So it might be the accounts payable person that prepares the returns every month. So it's going to be sent to the person that it's in the system on your profile. I have a question here whether new localities will be registered by SURI. Yes. If you open different physical address localities, remember you will get a different certificate for that locality. If it's a different business or commercial activity in the same locality, you just need to add the NIC code to that locality. Okay? The website to start the process is the Hacienda website, and it's hacienda.pr.gov as in Victor. That's the regular web page of the Rico Treasury Department. A lot of you are asking if the presentation will be available. Yes, the presentation will be available. Please also be aware that we are recording the presentation, and it will be posted on our YouTube channel. Go and hear it again. We understand we had some problems at the beginning with some of you that were not able to listen. Please, the same will be available in our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to hear it since the beginning. Okay, I'm just going through the question. Colecturía virtual will remain. Remember, you use Colecturía virtual for your withholdings and your income tax payments and estimated tax payments. For now, SURI is only for sales and use tax. So instead of using PICO for sales and use tax, you will going to use SURI. But you're going to keep using Colecturía virtual for everything else. This is a good one. If we originally registered some locations that right now are not operating, should we register them in SURI?
Validate the information only and indicate that they are no longer doing business. So you can keep those that you are that are currently doing business only.
Yes. There is a question here. You said you can have different activities with the same address. What if you have separate companies with different employee ID numbers in the same address? Since there are different companies, you will need different merchant registry for each company. When we say you cannot have different business activities in the same localities for the same company. So if you have two companies doing business in the same place, each company has to have its own certificate. Can you repeat the answer about historic data? Yeah, what we mentioned is that all your data that it's in PICO will be transferred to SURI. Okay, so once you log into SURI, the system should bring up to your profile all the data that is in PICO. It's very important that you review it and ascertain that it's correct. If it's not correct, you need to make changes. There are some fields that you're going to be able to correct yourself. There are some fields that you cannot. So those fields that you cannot correct yourself, you will have to file a request with the system so it's investigated and corrected if necessary. What about the exemption certificates? We have no guidelines yet for the exemption certificates. I presume you're referring to the reseller certificate and the eligible reseller certificates. A couple of months ago, the Puerto Rico Treasury Department issued guidelines on those certificates and how they need to be renewed. For now, there's not going to be nothing done through SURI. You need to follow the procedures that were published by the Puerto Rico Treasury Department. Is the same process for 4% B2B. Remember, the 4% B2B is a special sales and use tax. This process that we described today is your transition process from PICO to SURI. So it applies to everything sales and use tax. So if you only collect the 4% because you're a service provider, you have to go through this process because it's a sales and use tax process. So remember, SURI is for all sales and use tax transactions. I have a question here. Why now on Salinas return also on SURI? No. The municipalities, you need to keep doing what you're doing right now. If they have a website, you file on the website. If they don't have a website, you file on paper.
You file through COFIN.
Through COFIN. Okay, so SURI is only for state sales and use tax. The merchant certificate which does not withhold, that's the red certificate. Do you have to update the same via SURI? Yes. Remember I mentioned this process applies to all merchants, withholding agents and non-withholding agents. You need to go through the update and transition process. You will not be able to file or obtain anything through PICO. The next one we already answered. It's only for state tax returns, no municipal. If you have the same activity, the same commercial activity, but different addresses, let's say you have one in Guaynabo, one in Bayamón, one in San Juan, you need certificates per locality, okay? What we stress is that if you are in the same locality with different activities, you only need one certificate. But if you have different physical address, then you need certificates for each address. Will the existing merchant numbers remain? We understand that the answer is yes. You're going to be issue your new certificate with your same merchant number. Okay? What's going to change is the certificate itself. What certificate will be issued to foreign companies doing business in Puerto Rico? If it's a foreign company that has nexus and source in Puerto Rico and that has to be registered for sales and use tax, it's the same certificate. If it's a withholding agent, it's going to be one that says withholding agent, and if it's not, one that says no withholding agent. It's going to be the same certificate. Will it be easier to determine if the 29% income tax withholding applies? Not through SURI yet. Remember, this first phase for SURI is only for sales and use tax. That 29% is an income tax that needs to be withheld on non-resident entities that provide or have income from Puerto Rico. This first phase of SURI is only for sales and use tax. Sorry, we have to file a new certificate, or will PICO transfer them to SURI? Okay, let's just go around and review. Once the system is available, and that's October 15, you're going to be able to log in to SURI using your username and password for PICO. Once you do that, all your historic data is going to be transferred to SURI. You need to review that data, make corrections or request corrections, and answer these new questions that Treasury is going to be asking you to answer. Once the process is finished and the implementation process is done, that's going to be October 31st, is that date where you can go into the system and print your new certificate. Once you print your new certificate, you need to replace the old certificate with the new certificate. Will importers in Puerto Rico be able to receive their goods, air or ocean, if tax isn't paid? Remember, since 2014, Puerto Rico is in a hybrid system, and if you are an importer of merchandise to be resold, you need to pay the tax before you take possession. That remains the same, no change to that. Do we have to wait until October 31st to print the new certificate? Yes. You will not be able to print the new certificate until October 31st. You still have to display the original certificate. Remember, this original certificate is going to be the one that you're going to be printing. The one that you have right now, you take it out, you can destroy it or you can keep it in your records, and you need to replace that old one with the new certificate that you're going to be printing from the system. Can you repeat again what an importer needs to do to be ready on November 2016 with SURI? If you're an importer and you are a bonded importer, you pay your tax on or before the 10th day of the month following the importation. So if you are importing during October, you are required to file your monthly import return by November 10. Therefore, you cannot wait until November 20 to update your profile in SURI. You need to do that before November 10 to be able to file your November 10 import monthly return. Going through the questions. Will it be required to file by locality, by certificate? No. That has been changed for a while now. Remember, you only file one return. The same is going to happen. You're going to still have to file one return. What we have been told, though, is that Treasury is going to be requesting your volume or your sales by municipality or by locality. They want to have the information of sales by locality, but that doesn't mean you're going to file different returns. Still just one return is going to be filed. I'm going through the questions if we have missed some of them. Okay, no more questions are coming in, and we have gone over our allotted time. Thank you all for your questions and for your attendance to today's webcast. We're going to go through all the questions again to identify those that we have missed from our chat box here, and we'll be contacting you directly to provide you the answer. Again, thank you so much for your attendance today, and remember that you still can access all our publications and information through the different channels we have: the mailbag, our website, our calendar, our app, and also our YouTube channel. Remember, we'll be posting this webcast in our YouTube channel pretty soon, and we'll keep you updated with new information as we receive it from the Puerto Rico Treasury Department. If you have not registered in our mailing for any chance, please send us an email so we can add you to our mailing list so you'll be able to receive all our alerts and updates as soon as they're published. Again, thank you for your attendance and have a nice afternoon.